This week in gaming, Rocket League has ended Mac and Linux support. So much for Epic buying and improving psionics. We've got fresh details on the next Xbox and PlayStation. Steam usage sees new heights. Overwatch unveiled its next hero, Echo. E3 2020 has been cancelled, and we're back for a new season. Will we finally live up to the weekly in our name? Probably not. Will we be delivering video game news right here, right now? Oh yeah. So to start with, the elephant in the room and in our lungs, the COVID-19. In case you missed the news somehow, a viral pandemic emerged over the winter, and at the time of this episode's production it presents a serious risk to those with compromised immune systems. This show's focus is video games, and while we generally want to keep serious, real-world matters out of the show, the virus has had serious effects on the world of gaming. For starters, E3 2020 has been cancelled. The show was set to take place from June 9th to 11, 2020. Back in January, however, there were early signs of trouble. Sony pulled out of the show before worries about the coronavirus were quite so widespread, claiming that the show wasn't really up to their vision. A little later, however, they also pulled out of PAX East 2020 on account of the virus. In recent years, E3's relationship to the world of gaming has been sort of questionable. While companies such as Microsoft and Nintendo have used it to make big announcements, as of late, they've made a lot of big announcements all on their own, either via their own events, such as Sony's PlayStation Expo, or through conferences streamed online, such as Nintendo's Direct. In an attempt to stay relevant, E3 has been allowing members of the non-gaming industry public to purchase passes. In the past, E3 was only for members of the industry. While the show's been cancelled, it's not totally off. There's some mention on the official E3 website that there are plans to do things online. For most of the world, however, that's how E3 always has been. The Electronic Entertainment Expo isn't the only major gaming event impacted by the virus. Sony and Facebook pulled out of the 2020 Game Developers Conference, which was later postponed due to the virus. GDC was supposed to take place March 2020. Unlike E3, which is focused on showing stuff off, GDC is just what it says on the tin. A conference focused on the technology, business, etc. of the gaming industry. The show has been postponed to August 4th to the 6th, 2020 at the Moscone Center in San Francisco, California, but they're still going ahead with a virtual GDC with streamed content. But wait, there's more! TwitchCon Europe has been cancelled due to the virus, and HTC, the developers of the Vive VR headset, won't be holding their V2EC conference in person, but in virtual reality. Very clever. Generally speaking, gamers have taken the need to isolate themselves due to the virus in stride. On March 14, 2020, Steam hit a new peak of 19 million concurrent users. No big surprise there, but wait, this just in. On March 15th, they hit yet another peak. Over 20 million users. Some games, however, have had to take steps to hold on to players right now. Pokemon Go, which has been focused on getting out and, going places, can now be played as Pokemon Stay. Niantic offered players a special incense package that attracts Pokemon to your location for the cost of a single in-game coin. Unlike previous versions of incense, this one lasts for an hour and draws about 2 Pokemon per minute to your location, whether you're moving or not. Unlike previous versions of incense, this one lasts for an hour and draws about 2 Pokemon per minute to your location, whether you're moving or not. The package is a one-time deal, so once you blow through that 30 incense that they offer, that's it. But it's definitely a good move on their part. It's also a clever business move, since you don't get extra Pokeballs with this, and you're definitely going to need them. Further, the Go Battle League, which lets you play online with other players, no longer requires you to walk 3 kilometers between battles. Whew. Pokemon Go developer Niantic had been planning an in-person event in St. Louis, but it's since been postponed. Plenty of developers are taking advantage of the fact that people are at home, gaming, and are offering discounts and giveaways. Population Zero developer Nplex launched a 10,000 key giveaway with their Games vs. Virus campaign, while a ton of small indie devs on itch.io started giving their games away to encourage folks to stay inside. Itch user Avi has compiled a convenient collection of games that are free during the pandemic. It's called the Self-Isolation on a Budget collection. Thank you very much for that, AV. In news that would have probably been at E3, Microsoft unveiled the tech specs for the upcoming Xbox Series X, their next console. The new machine will be running on an 8-core AMD Zen 2 CPU, offering 4 times the performance of the Xbox One X. To go with this new CPU will be 16GB of RAM, accompanied by an RDNA 2 class GPU with 12 teraflops under the hood. As for storage, this new machine comes with a terabyte of space, much like what's already being offered with the Xbox One S and X, but instead of a traditional mechanical hard drive, the Xbox Series X features an SSD, or solid-state drive, which will boast significantly faster load and boot times. A step in the right direction, for sure. One of the big features of the Xbox Series X is support for ray tracing, a method for enhancing the way that light looks in a video game, which also happens to call for quite a bit of power, which the Series X is promising to deliver. The Series X also has a feature called Quick Resume. Basically, the state of your game is suspended when you pause. You can have as many of these states saved as you have room for, and they persist between system reboots and updates. What has me most excited for the Xbox Series X, however, is Microsoft's surprising dedication to backwards compatibility. Not only are they promising to make games from all past generations of Xbox compatible with the Series X, there's also supposed to be compatibility with old peripherals and accessories from the Xbox One. Microsoft has taken some of the best aspects of PC gaming, that is, taking your games and your peripherals between generations, and they've applied them to their upcoming console. Quite clever. Something that's a little strange that they seem to be bringing back are proprietary memory cards for the Xbox Series X. They're referring to these things as storage expansion cards, and Microsoft says that while regular external hard drives will work with the Xbox Series X, to receive all the benefits of the Xbox Velocity architecture and optimal performance, Xbox Series X optimized games should be played from the internal SSD or Xbox Series X storage expansion card. Basically, these custom memory cards are necessary for high-speed data transfer for some features of games on the Series X. Older games that don't need these features wouldn't need to be stored on these fancy cards. No word on pricing for these yet, or a release date for the Xbox Series X.
Hi. Unfortunately, we had to cancel the talk that we had planned for GDC.
What would have been Sony's GDC presentation on the PlayStation 5 was streamed online this week. In their presentation, they did a deep dive into the tech specs for their next console. Much like the next Xbox, the PS5 will include an SSD for faster load times, as well as ray tracing for graphics. It's looking like that'll be a big deal in the next generation of games and consoles. That's not all, however. The PS5 will also feature an 8-core AMD CPU and RDNA 2 GPU, rather like the Xbox. Another feature that Sony's touting is 3D audio, which will enable you to hear sounds happening around you as if they're happening in a 3D space, even if you don't have a fancy speaker system. This isn't stereo sound, this is a step above. Honestly, I'm really looking forward to seeing what this is like. Or, I suppose I should say, hearing. Regarding backwards compatibility, it's not sounding quite as robust as Microsoft's. Sony says that they're expecting the top 100 PS4 titles to be playable at launch on the PS5, and they're still testing other PS4 games on the PS5. There's no word, however, on back compatibility with other generations of PlayStation. It's worth noting that both the PS4 and Xbox One share the x86 CPU architecture, which has made things easier for developers when it comes to porting games between consoles and PC. The generations prior, however, used totally different architectures, meaning that developers not only had more work to do when it came to ports between consoles, but also that back compatibility with these generations is notably more complex. That said, the PS4 is more than powerful enough to emulate games from the PS1 and PS2. Instead of letting you just slip your discs in, however, Sony requires you to purchase the games from their online store. Hence why we probably won't see regular back compatibility with PS3 games or earlier, as had been previously rumored. What do you think about these new consoles being unveiled? Do any features catch your eye, and have you been convinced to upgrade systems? Or perhaps switch brands? Hit us up and follow at OneRuleBeCool on Twitter with your thoughts. In game releases this week, Nintendo's Animal Crossing New Horizons is out at long last, and thus far the critics really seem to love it. In case you're not familiar with the series, what you should know is that in the Animal Crossing games, you're a person who settles in a village full of friendly animals. You make friends, build a house, start a life. The games are pretty open-ended. If you're a fan of Stardew Valley, you probably enjoy the series. That said, if you're a fan of Stardew Valley, you probably came there from Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing New Horizons is out now for the Nintendo Switch, and much like the other games in the series, it's a slow-paced experience. This time around you're enjoying life on a tropical island, and by your actions, you can build it up and make it better. Also, much like previous entries in Animal Crossing, you start out living in a tent. The Nintendo Switch was on quite a roll this week, as Exit the Gungeon, sequel to Enter the Gungeon, was also released. In case you're unfamiliar with the original, Enter the Gungeon is a roguelite dungeon crawler in which your enemies are anthropomorphic bullets. You go in searching for loot, and try your best to make it out alive. In this sequel, you're trying to escape the dungeon. It's described as a bullet hell dungeon climber, and it's coming to other platforms later this year. One game that's out now that caught our attention is Yes, Your Grace. It's a rather unusual sort of adventure game, at least that's what I would consider it. I played a demo of the game a couple months back and really liked it. Developer Brave at Night has it branded as a kingdom management RPG, which also seems pretty accurate to the core gameplay loop. See, in Yes, Your Grace, you play as a king, but more importantly, you're a family man. So you've got to deal with your subjects bringing you their problems from across the kingdom, whether it's a request for seed money to start a bar, or to send help rescuing a kidnapped child. Each action you take on behalf of your subjects has consequences, both short and long term, not just on your kingdom, but for your family as well. Your daughters don't always get along with each other, and they need your attention just as much as the kingdom's subjects do. This puts the game in interesting territory because while a lot of the gameplay is centered on managing your kingdom's resources, the overall narrative thrust of the game is quite strong. When I've got some time, I'd definitely like to dig deeper into Yes, Your Grace. It's available right now on Steam and GOG for Windows. Finally, we leave you with the trailer for Baldo, which was unveiled during Nintendo's Indie Showcase this week. It's aesthetically reminiscent of Ni no Kuni, and it looks incredibly charming. For all the greatest game news, reviews, interviews, and more, be sure to stick with @OneRuleBeCool on Twitter and Instagram.